it sounds because you sound a little
Hello,
bit nasal.
everybody. Sorry. Hello, everybody. It's Gav Mack here and Alex Osborn for Two at Top. And it's the Bundesliga review with, as I said, myself, Gav Mack and Alex Osborn. Flo will be with us a little bit later on. And Alex was just talking about my voice as we were going live there because it does sound very nasal. And that's what happens with lovely hay fever. How are you, Alex? How are you getting on?
Very well, mate. Not as bad as you.
Oh, I'm fine, mate. Don't worry about it. It's just
everyone hearing me talking about you being nasally, but I'm all right, man. I'm okay. Caught the sun a bit today, haven't I?
Oh, fair play to you.
Yeah, well,
so
yeah.
I've barely left the house today. So, right. So on today's show, let's have a look and see what's on today's show. There it is on today's show. So Bayern Munich, they're only one win away from winning the title, so we'll be talking about that later on. We'll also be talking about the fight that Werder Bremen are. They are not saying die at all. And when Flo comes on the show a little bit later on, we'll be rounding up what happened during the week in the Pokal. Yes. So where shall we start? Let's start with Bayern Munich. So then that way we'll be able to see who our diehard fans are. If they stay till the end, that's what I say. That's how I work it. So there we go. Bayern Munich. They were 2-1 winners against Eintracht Frankfurt. It wasn't
actually
Lewandowski.
It was Gladbach.
It was. So I've literally pulled up the Pokal game. So we'll talk about the Pokal later on. Let's go back to the league game. So there it is. It was Bayern Munich 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 1. The goals came from Xerxes, Pavard own goal, and Goretzka late on in the game. What were your thoughts on the game as a whole, first of all?
Bayern, they weren't at the races, were they? This was a chance for Gladbach, especially in their fight with Leverkusen for fourth place, to actually pick up some, you want to call it bonus points almost, really, because I imagine when they were looking at the last few fixtures, Gladbach, they're thinking, Bayern's we're not probably going to get anything from that game, so we'll try and see if we can pick up all of maximum amount of points from the remaining games. So yeah, the Bayern certainly weren't at the races, and they certainly gave Gladbach a chance to actually pick something up there. And Jan Sommer,
yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. I mean, like, when it comes to key players, there was a lot of key players missing, all through suspension. Alisson player for Mönchengladbach for that pathetic red card that he received last week. And then a tighten-up process for Müller and for Lewandowski. So both teams were missing key players, but I don't think that should take away from what happened. And as you mentioned there, Jan Sommer, what's he thinking?
Well, they're trying to play out from the back, and he's just wildly misplaced his pass, hasn't he? I can only assume he's trying to pass it to the centre half there.
I don't understand. Even if you do misplay, even if you place that correctly, why are you passing the ball across your goal? That's the other thing as well, isn't it? He's over to the right hand side of the area, and he's tried to pass it over to the far left hand side where the centre half is. Now, I could try and remember where the Bayern Munich players were in relation to that, whether they'd kind of stopped him from just giving it to your man right in front of him here. Well, he could have just cleared it up line. He had enough time to do that.
He did have enough time to do that, but you know what coaches are with their players these days and their teams. Like, we want to be able to. We've got a way of playing, so let's play it. Let's play out from the back and build up. And we've said on this show many times that we like the way that Gladbach play their football. We've said it, like they play decent football. It's some of the better stuff that you can watch in the Bundesliga. So
I agree.
We can't like praise them for doing that, and then because of mistakes made, we then can't criticize them for doing exactly that way of football. I suppose what we'd like to see is obviously be smart about it, which I suppose is the issue here, isn't it? As I say, it's not smart, and it's not smart football to try and pass it across your goal especially as you're the goalie and you're leaving your goal wide open.
That's the thing. It's not even just across goal. it's across town where he's past it, isn't it? You know,
he's taking a taxi.
I don't, and I literally have no idea what was going through his mind when he's made such a rash decision like that. And that's what I mean.
Good.
Even if you play that with pace and play it correctly, so to speak, you think, oh, won't do that again. Sort of. So why? Oh, I don't know why he's done it, but it's a good finish.
What I will say, I was going to say, and I think players of Football Manager will recognise this name because I think he's certainly classed as a wonder kid, or he's got the potential to be a wonder kid on the game. And he has scored a few goals for Bayern this season. I think he stepped in every time that Lewandowski hasn't played. And he's still a young kid coming through their sort of youth academy. And yeah, he's finished out very well because with the ball moving like that, for him to hit it first time and not hit it straight at the defender, there wasn't a big gap between the defender and the near post.
And he was under pressure.
Yeah, so that was very good technique to hit that first time, keep it down, and just. I mean, okay, it was an open goal, but you know, still score it quite comfortably.
We were talking about like technique and how some players could just make something so complicated look incredibly easy. We spoke about it on last week's show with Anthony Modeste, and I feel that's what we saw this week. Because that is a skill and a half, being able to do that. Yeah, as you said, it's an open goal, but it's the whole technique behind it with pressure on him. You know, if he'd taken a touch there.
The chance is possibly gone.
It's gone.
The defender closes him.
Exactly.
Yeah, the defender closes him. Yeah, and the goalkeeper, that will give the goalkeeper enough time to get back into goal. But yeah, that was very good technique. The Gladbach's goal, so Pavard's own goal, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it's a good ball across. Right, and it's definitely going to. I don't know who your man is coming on to the end of it at the back post for Gladbach. I think it might have been Mbolo.
Mbolo, who I thought was going to be out for the rest of the season because he picked up a pretty shocking injury only a couple of weeks back. And we kept on saying about, poor bugger. You know, he never catches a break and he's back. So what do we know?
We're just two guys talking football on Facebook and YouTube. But I kind of felt Pavard, he was out of position, hence why he's had to slide. And when you slide, you then lose a little bit of control where the ball goes. And he's finished it perfectly in the bottom corner. Clearly, he's trying to play it out for a goal kick, for a corner, or trying to clear it back the way it comes from. But yeah, I kind of feel that, you know, when you get some own goals you just can't avoid it because it's like rebounded off the keeper and you've come in for the rebound, it's just hit you and you've got no chance to react. This one, I actually feel like Pavard is probably at fault for this one for me.
Yeah, he's had to slide in and make a challenge and to get there because there was someone in behind him, I believe it was Mbolo, so he had no choice but to do it. But you're right, he should have paid more attention to where. I just think
it's his positioning. It's his positioning initially, which has led to him having to slide, which is then you lose your control of where the ball goes a little bit more than if you were standing up.
This is a player who is naturally a centre half as well, so you would have thought that he should know a little bit better, but he made up for it later on in the game, and it was like only a few minutes before the end of the game with his assist for Goretzka.
Yep,
a nice run and a tidy finish. He scored a few since the restart. Leon Goretzka is a good player, very good player. I do like him. I like watching him. Let's talk about Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg 2, Freiburg 2. The goals were from Weghorst, who picked up a brace, and for Freiburg it was Höhler and Salai who made it 2-2. Now, the first goal I thought was very tidy. The cutback from Stefan, who's no taller than I. Well, I actually think I'm about 3 inches taller than him, which is quite embarrassing. I believe he's 5'4". So we might have to check that.
Someone in the comments. Yeah, please.
So it's his cutback. It's funny because he scored a header on the first weekend back. At the back stick, he literally came out like a salmon and nodded it home. I was thinking, brilliant.
jumping up to 5'9".
Yeah. Hey, look, one day I can dream of being 5'9". But yeah, it's his cutback which found Weghorst. It's a first time strike, 1-0. Brilliant. What we believed was the second goal. It took some time. It was about 5 minutes from when it hit the back of the net. So Jinsek tucked it home after Weghorst's header was saved by the goalkeeper to make it 2-0. So it's happy days. Goes to VAR. We see that it's offside. But whilst we're looking at that offside, we also notice that Weghorst is completely smashed in the face by Hoffler, the defender. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Now, he's received treatment. This is where something has gone wrong here, by the way, because he's received treatment on the pitch, and then the penalty's been awarded. He's been allowed to take the penalty.
So the rule is, for those that don't know, but for the rule is when you receive treatment on the pitch, you are supposed to come off the field of play, to the sidelines.
Yeah, there's only a slight caveat in
further treatment or I don't know what else, but it's potentially to receive further treatment.
Yeah, it's there to stop the time wasting sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The only caveat for that is if it's an outfield player and a goalkeeper. And then both players can stay on the pitch.
So anything involving a goalkeeper, because obviously you can't take a goalkeeper off the field of play.
So Weghorst was allowed to take the penalty, and I didn't.
Yeah, do you know what? I hadn't really put those two and two together until you've just mentioned it, and then I thought, oh yeah, I wonder what the rule on that is. Maybe because it is a set piece and because it is a penalty, whether it goes out, whether it changes rule or the referees just missed it and the VAR guys have missed it, and the fourth official, and they've just completely forgotten the fact it was Weghorst who got the treatment.
Bearing in mind, then he looked like Terry Butcher after the work had been done. So if you miss it, you probably shouldn't be on the pitch there.
Or because I imagine he was getting the treatment whilst the whole VAR was going on.
It was, yeah.
So whether that makes a difference, and they thought,
I'm gonna have to speak to my ref pals and find out because I've been out of the game for a couple of years, so I'm not quite sure.
We feel a bit conjecture, isn't it? We're trying to take a pot shot at it, maybe.
I'm gonna ask the question, but he slid it home, and it's 2-0. And you think at that point, well, put it this way, major betting companies pay out on 2-0 as a victory. So you're thinking, Wolfsburg, they're doing all right. They're 6th in the table anyway. They're looking good. Freiburg had other ideas. Excuse me. And just before half-time, Hula scored a header to make it 1 each. And straight after half-time, Salai made it 2-2. I'm quite surprised by that result. I think Wolfsburg are almost like they're trying to do everything they can not to finish in the Europa League spots. They're way too far. I think there's 12. I'll tell you what, let's get a table up rather than guessing.
They're 10 points behind Leverkusen. Are they 10 points behind Leverkusen? If the table I'm looking at is up to date.
11 points. Yeah.
11 points. Oh yeah, because Leverkusen got the point today, didn't they? So yeah. With only 3 games left, so they can't go up. They can only get Wolves. They can only get Hoffenheim and Freiburg overtake them. So they're either going to finish 6th, 7th, or 8th. Wolfsburg. So I think all they're playing for now is Europa League.
Europa League, yeah. Well,
League or not?
Seventh place will go to a Europa League spot. Will go to the team in 7th place. And that's because of the teams that progressed to the final of the Pokal, indeed. So, that's what's going on in Wolfsburg. I do like Weghorst, but I'm not quite sure whether he'll move on in the summer or not. I'm not quite sure. But let's talk about the teams at the bottom. One in particular, who will be going down, and the other one who hopefully will stay up. That's Paderborn 1, Werder Bremen 5. No one would have thought this before the game, and thought it'd be a much tighter affair. David Klassen with the brace. SCHALKE scored 1. Eggenstein and Fulkruig, he scored right at the end, and then Sabri got a consolation about 20 minutes after the break. It could have been more. It could have been more because Bremen had a penalty in the first 15 minutes. It was a handball by Collins. I felt quite sorry for him, to be fair. He didn't really know where the ball was, but end of the day, he's hit his hand, and you've got to give the penalty. And Rashika, he absolutely smashed that pen, and the
good save. He's put it at a good height, hasn't he? He's put it at a good height.
But that's with a lot of pace.
He's connected well. But then if a keeper guesses the correct way, and we've seen it, and it's at the right height, no matter how hard the player hits it, unless it's like top corner or it's just high enough for them only to get like a partial hand on it, a keeper will save it more times than not, even if they hit it really hard.
And that's exactly what happened there. And but only moments later, I don't think the ball went out of play, did it? And it was probably about a minute or so after that when David Klaassen got a header. He rose like a salmon himself and made it 1-0. Now, on 33 minutes, it could have been 1-1, and Strondijk, his shot went narrowly wide. I think it actually took a sheet of paint off the post on the way out of the field of play, but they got at the other end from the goal kick, pretty much, and they've scored to make it 2-0. And you think, when it's not your season, and that's Paderborn. Now, if there is a little bit of luck, they can stay up, but it is looking very thin. They're 8 points from playoff position, and there's only 9 points to play for.
Yeah, so, and they've only won 4 games all season in 31. Yeah, so I mean, sometimes teams will get we're off the pressure. We're kind of like there's no pressure on us anymore. But yeah, the Paderborn are pretty much down, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're done.
Done.
But Werder Bremen, we mentioned this on the show last week that three of their last 4 fixtures were against Paderborn, Dusseldorf, and Mainz, with the 4th being against Bayern Munich. Now, we did say forget that one against Bayern Munich, because they're not going to get anything out of that game.
And Bayern, they want to win the title ASAP, so winning that game wins them the title.
Exactly. So, Werder Bremen, their 2 games they've got remaining against Dusseldorf and Mainz, and at the moment they're below Dusseldorf, but I believe that's because of the head-to-head that they have with them. So,
tidy table back up.
I'd be interested to know what the actual score was between Bremen and Dusseldorf the first time round, because this is where aggregate would then come into play. So if Werder Bremen beat them, depending on what the score was obviously in the first game, they would need to make sure that they're ahead of them on aggregate, wouldn't they, in that regard?
Indeed. So at the moment, Bremen are in 17th place and Dusseldorf are in 16th place, both on 28 points, and Mainz are a place above them. We'll finish talking about this Bremen game, and then we'll go on to Mainz, because Mainz, they had it. They didn't have it easy earlier on today. But yeah. So Klaassen, he scored a volley just before half time to make it 3. It was game over, sort of thing by that point. Eggenstein, he made it 4, and Sabri brought one back, and then Fulkrug. Now, I'm really happy for Fulkrug because he's been out injured for the last 9 to 12 months with a knee injury. It's his first game back, and he was able to score. I mean, like, what? It's almost like a bit of fairy tale, isn't it?
It is, and it's a shame for him that there was no fans there for him to celebrate with. I mean, I know it would have been away, so but at least he didn't. People at home would have. I don't know if they're now piping the sounds into the stadium. I know that it's a TV broadcasting now, but it would have been nice for him to get that the players talk about that little buzz they get from the fans when they celebrate a goal.
Yeah,
it'd have been nice for him to get that, because, as you say, it's been a pretty horrid year for him coming up previously.
But he's back, and hopefully he's going to be able to guide them to safety, or at least a 16th spot. I can't look at the Bundesliga table and imagine Werder Bremen not being in it. It's
we said, didn't we? It's been what, nearly 40 years?
Yeah, next year will be their 40th year if they stay up. Look, no team is too big to go down. We've seen that in the Premier League over the years when Leeds went down, when Villa went down, Blackburn winning the title and then going down a few years later. Forest, they've gone down and come back up and gone back down, but no team is too big to go down. Look at the teams that are in Bundesliga 2. You've got Hamburg in there. Hamburg European Cup winners.
Stuttgart as well.
Stuttgart.
Hanover. I'm pretty certain Hanover is a fairly decent.
Dynamo Dresden. They were really big in the 70s and 80s. So this is it's crazy. I want them to stay up, but it might end up being at the expense of a decent night out, and that's Dusseldorf. Because it's Dusseldorf. Let's get their game up. They lost 1-0 to I need to open that graphic. Well, let's take that graphic down because it doesn't look right there. It was Haaland who scored at the end of 95 minutes. But they were lucky, I think. Dusseldorf had plenty opportunities to score, and keeper made some really good saves in that game.
Dortmund frustrate me, or should I put it more politely, Lucien Favre frustrates me. We were having this conversation yesterday, weren't we?
Plenty opportunity,
and he just plays timid football where, as I say, the players at his disposal should be used in a better way, and it just frustrates me because they could be so much more.
Let's bring Flo into the conversation. Flo's just arrived onto the show. Flo, how are you, dude?
Hey guys, great to be with you again. What I have to say, I'm a little mad about the referee from the Schalke Leverkusen match, but
we'll get to that.
We'll be talking about that in a bit. What we're just talking about.
I'm very happy to see you, so it's okay.
Oh, stop it!
God, you charmer, Flo.
Oh God, Flo.
I bet you say that to all the boys.
I bet he does.
And the girls.
Flo, we were just talking about Lucien Favre, and we think he's a bit of a myth. We're not very happy. We mentioned that Dusseldorf were unlucky. They had many opportunities. For those who are watching the show for the first time, between the boys and the team, we have a WhatsApp group, and we're always talking in there. And one of the conversations that we were having yesterday was about Lucien Favre being like a poor man's version of Unai Emery, and the fact that they look so toothless without a striker, but even with a striker, they're not really at the races. Dortmund.
Yeah, they're playing like a second place team at the moment. So the place they are located, they're a great team, but they're a good team. But they're not. They won't manage it with Favre to come to the top of the Bundesliga table. So I absolutely agree with you and what you said in the group chat, that Dortmund has become kind of a toothless team regarding to their ambitions. Compared to other Bundesliga teams, they're still great, but regarding their ambitions, they're behaving very poorly at the moment, I think.
Very true. Alex, they could have gone 1-0 up through Guerrero. His goal was disallowed. Do you think that was a little bit soft?
I thought it was a little bit unlucky. Yes, to the letter of the law, it's hit his hand or it's hit his arm, and he's benefited from that because the ball's falling into his path. Lovely finish, by the way. So, yeah, I can feel it is a little bit unlucky. But, again, maybe it's the letter of the law that needs to be changed now that VAR has been introduced.
Well,
as talked about with offside. Because do you remember in the Premier League when was it West Ham when Declan Rice the same thing happened to him?
Sheffield United.
Yes, and obviously West Ham went on and scored, but the goal got disallowed and brought back because of he was just running along, and it's just the ball just happened to deflect up and hit his arm, and it happens. The ball just came to him perfectly, which is what happened yesterday with Guerrero. It's hit his arm, and it's just fallen into his path. And I know he's taken advantage of it, but I don't think personally he's intentionally done that. It's just hit him in that way. I don't know how you guys saw it.
No, I think it's the same. I think it's damn harsh. And a similar thing happened in Friday night's game. Let's find out what happened there. Where's my graph? There it is. Lovely. So Hoffenheim 0, Leipzig 2. But Hoffenheim could have been a goal up, and it's a very similar situation. Baumgartner, he didn't even know anything about it, and it's hit his hand ish in the build up, and it weren't even anything to do with him in the end. It was De Boer who had the ball and tried to round the goalkeeper. Galazzi just thought, no, I'm going to cut you in half, and a penalty was given. So as far as we're concerned, we're waiting for a penalty. The VAR then came out, and we're looking at to see, is it for an offside? It might be offside. It was incredibly tight. That's why they're looking at it. And then you see that it's grazed the hand of Baumgartner, and he had no idea. And they've pulled it back on it. I think it's harsh.
It is definitely harsh. I certainly agree. Leipzig were definitely the benefactors there. Well, what I want to say is I'm going to have to shoot. So
okay, yeah, no worries at all. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, sorry, I can't be here with a long one, but I will say this to Flo before I do part. I feel like that shouldn't have been a penalty before Leverkusen for Schalke, just to set him going.
I was definitely a pen. Definitely a pen.
There was no penalty, but I'm looking forward to discussion later.
Cool. All right, guys, much love, and have a good rest of the show.
Catch you later, dude.
Great to see you, Alex. Bye.
Alex has gone off to go get some deserved tun-tun. So he will be back with us tomorrow for the quiz, which we'll let you all know about very, very soon. Olmo, he bagged a brace, 9 minutes and 11 minutes, but the first 8 minutes of that, it was all Hoffenheim. And Leipzig couldn't even get a touch on the ball. But both goals were a carbon copy of each other. So is that, clever play from Olmo, or is that, a lapse of concentration or just poor management from Hoffenheim?
I think it was a great piece of skill from Olmo, because he joined Leipzig in the winter, and he didn't show a lot, or didn't show that much what he could have shown, or what he had already showed in the under-21 championships, European championships.
Yeah,
and he was one of the hottest player in last transfer summer. Mm-hmm. So it was a little negative surprise, his performance so far. But in this match, he really showed his strength in the box. So great performance from Olmo, and I'm looking forward that he plays or continues playing this way, because if he does, he would be a huge benefit for the Bundesliga. Yeah, 100%.
Hoffenheim made a managerial change during the week as well, didn't they? They sacked their manager. Do you think that was a bit of a harsh sacking?
It was a little bit of a confusing sacking, because I don't know, they signed the manager last year in May or April, I don't know, when it was clear that Julian Nagelsmann would change to Leipzig.
Yeah.
And after they signed the manager, they sold Joe Linton, they sold Demirbay, they sold Amiri, they sold Schultz. So they made a lot of cash, but lost quite a few decent players. And the manager was like, okay, what should I do with all the, average players I have left now? And he did an okay job, They are still able to qualify for Europe.
They're comfortable.
And I don't know. I didn't see a reason why they should sack him.
What are they expecting?
Maybe he wanted to be to have a little more offensive behavior on the transfer market in summer. I don't know, but now they had like 6 head coaches for the match against Leipzig. I don't know who was the head coach at all.
No one. I don't think they did. I think that's what the issue was. What else happened this week? Let's talk about FC Cologne. FC Cologne 1, Union Berlin 2. The goals came from Ramos from a corner. Gentner, he made it 2-0, and Cordoba again. He's scoring plenty of goals at the moment. But Union Berlin, they're such a weird team. They're not very attractive, are they?
No, they are not the way they play. the way around, or everything what's around the team is quite attractive for fans, because they have a stadium for standing area, and they're very different to all the other clubs. But watching them play is horrible. They really play very bad football.
I just can't get up for would have seen FC Cologne over time. They've played in Champions League before, in Europa League over the years, so people know a little bit about Cologne. What are they doing, hanging around down the bottom of the end of the table?
I couldn't understand your last question because I had a little
a little bit of lag there. Sorry. Yeah. So just saying that Cologne over the years, we've seen them in the Champions League, we've seen them in the Europa League. So what are they doing, hanging around in like towards the bottom end of the table?
Well, I believe I have to correct you, because Cologne never played Champions League. The last time they played Champions League was, I don't know, in the 1979 in the Champions Cup, when there wasn't even Champions League, just for the league champions.
I've always thought that I'll probably think of Kaiserslautern. Kaiserslautern, they played in the Champions League back in the day.
Cologne was horrible over the last 30 years.
Yeah,
I grew up, and for me, Cologne was always a club who changed between first and second league. They're like the club with the second most relegations in the Bundesliga in Germany. So actually, they're quite where they belong, from my point of view, or from the way I've known them. So it's okay. They played as a runner-up. They played an okay season. Mm-hmm. They won't relegate this year. I hope next year, maybe.
Savage.
But it's what they're playing. They had a good run in between. They had a bad start, but now they're exactly where they belong for runner-up. So they're a team which deserve to play in the Bundesliga. I have to admit that. They have great fans. They have a great stadium, great culture, atmosphere around the club. They need to play in the Bundesliga. But of course, because of the rivalry, it's okay if they relegate. But from time to time, for me.
Cordoba scored again. He's scoring a lot of goals of late. You can tell that he's a key player. Do you think that they'll be able to keep hold of Cordoba?
I don't know how long his contract is. If he has a contract until maybe 23, could be possible. But it is the first time that Cordoba played a good season in the Bundesliga so far. So when they signed him, he was a promising player playing for Mainz, and they signed him for a lot of money, which they received from their Modest deal 3 years ago. But he really underperformed in the second league last year. He also wasn't a major factor for the promotion, and all of a sudden he has a great game at the moment. He scores many goals. I hope for them that they can keep him. I have to admit that, because he's quite a good striker. He's physically good. He seems to have a good shoot. I'm lacking the English word. he's good in scoring goals. So just
say it in German. Say it in German. We should have a massive German following now, since you've been joining us anyway. So
yeah, in German we would say hat einen guten Riecher. What means so he's good in smelling for the goal. He smells where the ball could be, something like that. And riechen is like smelling. That's the same word.
Gotcha. And it's another late goal as well for Cologne. Cologne, they just keep scoring goals beyond 90 minutes. I mean, that's their 8th goal this season that they've done that in, and the 8th game that they've done it in. So that's quite crazy. And one of the the penultimate game in the Bundesliga that we talk about before we get on to your boys was Hertha Berlin 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 4. Now, Christian Piatek, he scored the opener, and we're thinking, oh, this is good, and they might be able to go off on the run and have a good time, because Hertha, since the break, they've been one of the more informed sides. So I've actually quite enjoyed watching Hertha Berlin play some football in this since the return of COVID. And it didn't work out that way in the end. Dedrick Boyata, he made a really silly tackle on 6 minutes and got a rightfully deserved yellow card for it. but then received a second yellow for a trip on one of my favourite players, Bas Dost. Christ, can't stand him.
How can you prefer Bas Dost to Andre Silva?
I hate them both. And the fact
okay. So I just got you wrong. Okay, I got you.
The fact that you know, Andre Silva bagged a brace and got the assist for Bas Dost. Oh my God, honestly, spitting feathers over here I am. But yeah, he's Daniel Boyata, excuse me, he's ran across the line of Bas Dost and taken him out. Now, I don't think there's any malice in that, but when I look at the replay, it looks like he knows what he's doing, because he doesn't need to run in that direction, does he? He could have stopped. He could have stopped the run, and it's gone to VAR, and they've actually upgraded the second yellow and turned it into a red card.
Especially if you have a yellow card already, you may not run in that direction as he did. So if you wouldn't have a yellow card, maybe he would gotten away with a yellow card if he was lucky. But if you have a yellow card and you do that kind of foul, although it even was just a very small contact, but it was a contact, and with this pace, it's immense. And yeah, it's just silly defending. It's very poor defending, and this was the turning point of the match. And 1-1 wouldn't have been as important as the red card for Frankfurt.
Yeah, indeed. I thought when they went to VAR, they were actually looking to see whether the challenge was inside the box or outside the box. I mean, they might well have done that at the same time, but the fact that they upgraded it to a red card, he's not made any attempt to get the ball, and it is a pretty obvious and clear opportunity to score. So I think the right decision was got to in the end. But yeah, that was the turning point, and the second half was all Frankfurt, really. Hertha couldn't really get into the game at all. Bas Dost, as I said, my favourite striker, he scored at the back stick from an assist from my second favourite striker in the history of mankind, Andre Silva, who scored two. Now, I've got to give it to him on his first goal, because what a move that was, and the run from Kamada to find him, I thought that was pretty special. I just wish it was someone else who scored it.
The whole goal was magnificent. Kamada's run and Silva's finish. And Silva's finish was just like intuition, you know, he just did it. He could have stopped the ball and maybe have a look for a corner, but he just did it very nasty with the back of the heel, and I really liked it. And you have to say, since Corona, he's the best goal scorer in the Bundesliga. 6 matches, 6 goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And in 20 appearances for Frankfurt, he's now scored 9 goals in the Bundesliga. So this is quite okay for a striker. And it seems that they made a good deal changing Rebic to Silva.
Well, no, I'll still rather have Rebic in my team. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, Rebic, Kostic, you know, that was nice last season, you know, and was it Haller as well? You know, what a front three that was. They scored so many goals last year, but
in Germany they were called the Buffels.
The Buffaloes.
Yeah, like Rebic, Jovic, and Haller were called the Buffaloes.
Oh, nice.
In German. Yeah. and when Rebic and Jovic and Kostic, they were like the Cevapcici crew.
Yeah,
you know what, like the Croatian.
Love it. They had a thing going. They really did. The poor defending and everything involved in terrible defensive work was what created Ndika's goal, who scored from, it was like a first time sort of like half volley, just drilled, grass cutting with 20 minutes to go. But it was a training ground free kick that they attempted, and Hertha Berlin had 3 separate occasions and opportunities to get rid of the ball there, and they failed to do that on all 3. So they made a rod for their own back, and I think in the end they deserve to be on such a slapping, in my opinion. Oh dear. Right, Sunday's games. Number 1, we'll talk about that one first. It's not very long. It's Mainz 1, Mainz 0, Augsburg 1. Niederlechner with the goal after 46 seconds. Now, he'd actually gone 857 minutes, Bundesliga minutes, without scoring, and then scores inside 50 seconds. And the rest of that game was shocking. So I think we'll move on from there, and let's talk about your boys. Why not? Schalke won, Bayer Leverkusen won. The goals came from Caligiuri. He got a penalty, and then Miranda's own goal. I haven't got any popcorn. I'm really annoyed because I'm just looking forward to your breakdown of this game.
My intention was to ask you first, what's your opinion about the penalty for Schalke? Because from my point of view, as I wrote in the group chat, this penalty was an absolute joke, massive joke. I didn't even see where there was a hand, any kind of hand on the ball. I don't know. And I will continue being angry afterwards with some further decisions from the referee. But first, just briefly tell me your opinion about the penalty.
It was a stonewall penalty. It is so obvious and so clear. I can't even say that with a straight face. I was literally sitting there watching it with my missus, and like, I'll just go, that is farcical, absolutely farcical. And my missus like, what is? I was like, rewound it. I showed her. She was like, what? I was like, exactly. What's it meant to be for? I lost for words. Absolutely lost for words.
Yeah. What is the worst thing is, I don't know, a couple of minutes later, there was a corner for Leverkusen, and the header, and was on Bujalav's arm, and you could really see he had his arm like this. The ball came to his arm, and not even VAR.
Not even a sniff.
But the worst decision from the referee, from my point of view, was
turning up
when after when the Schalke player was injured, and Wendell tried to play it back to the goalkeeper, and Alario was, I don't know, silly as fuck. I didn't know what he was thinking. Taking the ball, trying to shoot a goal, was pretty unfair. Give him that, but
there's nothing in the laws of the game that says.
But
that
it's still in the laws of the game. That's okay.
Well, no, yeah.
But then Ozan Kabak, Alario tried to score a goal, couldn't. Newell saved it, and suddenly Ozan Kabak, who already had the yellow card before, came running to Alario and pushed him, and that's an absolutely yellow card.
And the only card that was given out was a yellow card to your
for Caligiuri. Yeah. I don't know what the referee was thinking.
I think he lost control of the game at that point, but luckily the game didn't spill over, and it did sort of calm down a little bit. Now, Schalke, we've been taking the mick out of them since the return, and you know, the fact that just before Christmas they'd only recorded 3 defeats in the league, and they were level on points with Dortmund, and now with Dortmund winning yesterday, that's guaranteed Schalke's safety. That's hilarious. So like their rivals helped them out by keeping them in the Bundesliga. But Schalke, they've got issues, and we mention it every week because we have no choice but to talk about every team in the Bundesliga. But we're worried, seriously worried about Schalke now. At first, it was a bit of a Mickey take, but for instance, today they had 5 players under the age of 21 in the starting lineup. They had 7 named substitutes on the bench, and 2 of those were goalkeepers. There's issues at Schalke.
Yeah, but maybe it's a chance for them. You know, having so many young players throwing on the pitch or throwing in the cold water, as we would say in Germany. They need to learn to swim.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. Well, they were not the best footballers, obviously, today on the pitch. All they did was defending, and they were lucky with the penalty. Mm-hmm. But they were fighting, they were running, they were, I don't know, they had a positive spirit in the team. You could hear from all these substitutional players cheering and clapping. So this fact was quite okay. It's good for them that the season is over for them, that they can't relegate, and maybe with a little bit of more experience in the next year, some of these young players can develop and become some decent Bundesliga players.
Yeah,
this would be good for Schalke. Yeah.
we've seen a lot of young players and a lot of young talent knocking around, in particular since the return of the Bundesliga. And I would mention it's probably because you could have many more substitutes on your bench rather than having your 7 subs. You could have a full squad on your bench. So some teams are thinner than others, so therefore they have no choice but to put the kids out, a bit like Schalke. But then just the talent that's coming through, young, decent talent. I mean, like the guy who's almost scored, it should have been his goal, shouldn't it? What's his name? Paulinho,
yeah.
He's 19, isn't he?
He's 19, yeah.
Yeah, Diaby.
Exactly.
How old's Diaby? 20?
Diaby's 20.
Yeah,
we have a couple.
Turned 21 during the week.
Havertz turned 21. Wirtz 17.
Wertz, he scored his first goal last week, 17. Then you look at Hoffenheim. They got like Max Bayer. I'm a big fan of him. He hasn't scored since the restart, but I like him a lot, and I think he's going to be a future talent. Dortmund, they've got Haaland, they've got Sancho. They've got Reina, all 20 or under. There is a lot of kids in Germany at the moment. Matondo, in fact, for Schalke, he was missing today. He's only a kid as well. It's a case of if we could keep hold of these kids in the Bundesliga will be. Well, I think it's one of the best leagues in world football anyway in terms of entertainment, and I've been telling this for about a decade now.
Except the race for champion.
The race for champion.
This one's boring for a decade now.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's spoiling that league. If there's like 2 or 3 that are still going for it, it'd be nice. And I really thought it was going to be Leipzig's year this year. Right, let's get some Pokal chat. Before we go, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go back to Leverkusen. So, Bayer Leverkusen, they were 3-0 winners away to Saarbrücken. Diaby with the opener, Alario after 19 minutes, and Bellarabi on 58 minutes. I really liked the Bellarabi goal, by the way. But
I love the assist from Demirbay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Demirbay was the deciding player in this game from my point of view. The way he assisted the massively important 1-0, great passing ball, and afterwards the 3-0, great, magnificent. Yeah,
it was. I know that Saarbrücken, they haven't played a game for like 3 months. It's difficult to get some games in and things like that. But you still have to just go out there and beat what's in front of you. And I feel that it could have been a potential banana skin, but you're into the final now, and you'll be playing against Bayern Munich, who won 2-1 at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. Perisic scored in that one. Da Costa brought it back to make it 1 apiece, and then Lewandowski with 15 minutes to go. On paper, we'll always say that it's going to be Bayern Munich who are going to win that final, and a final can be a difficult task. But do you think it will be as sort of like as one-sided as the media will suggest?
No, I don't think so. I believe it will be like maybe like the first match in the Bundesliga so far. I would love it would have the same result, so we would be cup winners.
Yeah.
But I believe it will be quite a close match because we have a great, talented, and gifted team. Bayern Munich, of course, they have a fantastic team, and if some of their players come back after their injuries, and Müller and Lewandowski will play, of course, because they are not suspended due to yellow cards, so there will be 2 very good teams on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And I believe and I hope that it will be quite a tight game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Hey, look, let's have.
And it's so soon. I don't know, 3 weeks. So that's
not as quick as the turnaround as in Italy. They had in Italy. They played the second final, second leg on Friday and on Saturday, and the final is on Wednesday. Crazy. Let's have a.
Just imagine this with fans.
I know.
Just imagine your fan and your team wins on Saturday, and you have to book a train or a car or a hotel room or something like this for Wednesday. Following.
It's like, bloody hell, can I have the day off work, Gaffer? No, you can't. Right, let's get the Bundesliga table up on the screen so everyone can see that. There you go. So Bayern Munich, yes, they only need one more win to secure the title for the 747th time in a row. It's Werder Bremen, who they've got on Tuesday. We're going to put up the fixtures in a couple of moments, but the race for the top four, Mönchengladbach, they are a point behind Bayer Leverkusen in 5th place. Leipzig, they are in 3rd place, 62 points. Dortmund, they're in 2nd place, 66. With Leverkusen and Bayern playing out the Pokal final, it means number 7, placed in 7th, will be a Europa League spot. So the race for that has now sort of changed its dynamic, because Hoffenheim are currently occupying the 7th spot. They're on 43 points. Freiburg 42. Schalke picking up a point today. They're on 39 points. We're talking about them like being safe from relegation.
With minus 12 goals.
Minus 12 goals indeed, but Hoffenheim are on minus 10. So, so a couple of wins for Schalke. Who knows? They could be playing Europa League football next season, which will be absolutely crazy. But then at the bottom, you got Dusseldorf, who are on 28 points. They are occupying the playoff position. Werder Bremen, who we mentioned already, they're in 17th place. So they're joint on points. They're actually only a goal out in goal difference. So the game against them and the game against Mainz in the next couple of weeks is going to prove key. Let's have a look at the fixtures, because it's English week in the Bundesliga. Whoopa! We love English week. So on Tuesday night, it's Mönchengladbach versus Wolfsburg. That's the early evening kickoff. Tuesday night games, it's Werder Bremen versus Bayern Munich. So Werder Bremen, they're looking at an opportunity of getting out of the relegation area, or at least into a playoff position, and Bayern will be going out to win that game. Freiburg versus Hertha Berlin, and Union Berlin versus Paderborn, who will be relegated on that day because they're 8 points from safety with only 9 points to play for. Wednesday early evening kickoff is Frankfurt versus Schalke. Now, who knows what Schalke team is going to turn up after that shock 1-1 draw that they got at the hands of Leverkusen earlier on today. And then Wednesday night's games are Borussia Dortmund versus Mainz, Leipzig versus Dusseldorf, Bayer Leverkusen versus FC Köln, and Augsburg versus Hoffenheim. Wow, there's a decent amount of games knocking around there. So, what have I done there? There we go. Can we get our shiny faces back on the screen? There we are. So, a mad, crazy week of fixtures.
What's your favorite match in that week?
Oh, I don't know. There's some real tasty ones, and even though we said it on the show last week, we mentioned about Bremen, they should just curl up and just let Bayern pump in a new one because they've got big games to worry about afterwards. But after picking up a 5-1 win, they're going to feel a little bit excited by it. And I'm not saying that they go out and win, but they might. And if they pick up a point, that is going to be a massive bonus point, especially with other games that are happening. I'm also looking at Mönchengladbach versus Wolfsburg. Because you don't know what Wolfsburg team's going to turn up, and I just love watching Gladbach
Wolfsburg
play.
is very, very good in away matches this year.
Yes, they are
playing poorly at home, but they're very good away, as we have suffered in Leverkusen with 140 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be a very interesting game, because I recently read an interview with Wolfsburg manager Jörg Schmatke, who said that the worst thing that could happen to them is finishing 7th and playing the Europa League qualification matches.
Oh yeah, because they were
whilst playing the Europa League quarterfinals, for example. So they would go at the same time.
I don't know how that. Yeah, I've never thought of that actually. That's actually weird, isn't it? You're going to be playing qualifiers for your tournament that you're already playing in, which you might end up going on and winning. So what if you go on and win?
I just imagine the matches were both on Thursday, so they have to play with their second team on Thursday, I don't know, afternoon for the qualification, on
like
Thursday
Liverpool,
evening.
Isn't it?
They play with their first team.
That'd be awful, wouldn't it? To be honest, that's a standout game to me, because the Premier League's back on Wednesday, isn't it? And I will be watching. I'm not going to neglect the Bundesliga. I never have before, so I'm not going to start now. So I'm going to have about 40 devices playing at the same time. You know, just find out what's going on. My laptop's on that one. You know, whatever. Just keep an eye on all the games, because we are back on Wednesday.
Will go crazy.
Thursday morning. Oh yeah. She already knows what the crack is anyway. But yeah, we're going to be back on Thursday morning for the Bundesliga review show. And then on Thursday afternoon, we'll have our top fives as usual. Tomorrow, make sure you log in actually at 7 o'clock to watch us, because we are hosting a football quiz. Oh yeah! So those who haven't watched it before, we have like a big Zoom chat with all the presenters. Will be in iShot. We'll be answering questions. All you need to do is bring a pen, a pad, and your A game. Alex is the current reigning champion, and I'm sure that he will not want his crown to be removed. So that is
the German quizmaster is playing tomorrow.
Exactly. The quizzical meister from the heart of Leverkusen is coming out there to come and fight people and let everyone know who you are. Yeah, so that's us for today. So yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Make sure you follow and like and share all our pages and things like that. All our links are just coming up at the bottom of the screen. That's our Facebook, because you might be watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then that was our Facebook. So then you will be able to see it. So we're just cross-feeding everything. Our Twitter and our Instagram. Everything is at 2UpTopFootball. That's the number 2 Up Top Football. But from myself and Flo, thank you and good night.